Welcome to Dice and Mind, a podcast hosted by Brad Brown and Jason Kaufman to explore the intersection of life, games, science, music, philosophy, and creativity through interviews with leading creatives. All are welcome in this space.
Good to be back recording again, and this is actually like a cool episode because we're going to be talking about a game. Actually, we're talking about a game, but really in effect kind of a series of two games.
Yeah, so far.
So far. That reminds me, and we even and one of our guests even mentions Art Bell in the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know do you know who Art Bell is?
I don't.
As a guy who does radio. Okay, so Art Bell,
or do I?
you might not. But Art Bell passed away a number of years ago. He used to do overnight radio, syndicated, and it was all about the paranormal and the goofy.
Oh, I would have liked that.
And we used to when I lived after you moved. No, you were still here, but you were very busy with
here
school
being
at the time.
Milwaukee.
Here in
Yep.
Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
When we would be up late, he would only, I think, run certain days. We would stay up and listen, and the stuff that they would sometimes talk about would freak you out.
Interesting.
And some of the things that they would talk about, like, would be Roswell and aliens and saucers and spacecraft. And it's fascinating. And some of it was just, I mean, you'd listen to it and you'd go, this is just, okay, whatever. It's crazy. But it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
And he was very good at keeping those guests, some of which obviously probably wouldn't have had any sort of platform if not for him. Very active and involved, as guests on the show. And so it's funny that this game plays off of that just ever so slightly, this series of games, Redacted and Saucer Squadron.
Yep. What Redacted being a tabletop RPG, Saucer Squadron being a miniatures game.
Yeah.
But
designed by Aaron Pollyea.
Yep. And Al Spader.
And Al Spader.
Kind of respectively, right?
Yeah.
Al taking the lead with Redacted, Aaron taking the lead with Saucer Squadron, but they share a common cloth, so that as Aaron will say in our chat with them in a few minutes, that there are essentially different ways, different perspectives of looking at the same events, which is really clever.
Very, very clever. And well, I don't want to give too much away, but the book, they gave us an advanced PDF.
The core rulebook. It is pretty clever.
It's
oh my God.
Pretty clever. And I read through so much of that because there's a lot of like just cool like game history and knowledge, like backstory that helps you really get into the Redacted universe.
Yeah. Which is our universe, our world.
Yeah,
with more revealed.
Roswell had happened.
Right. What do you mean as if? Just kidding.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Well, that comes up as a question.
That comes up.
Talk about that.
That's right.
So, but it's good to have both Al and Aaron back
and together.
Yeah. And we didn't, except for the very end, as a teaser, did not talk about anything related to Star Trek.
Nope, because we actually aren't a Star Trek / Star Trek Adventures podcast, although sometimes you could be forgiven for thinking so. No, this is one of the reasons I was so looking forward to this, because both Al and Aaron have respectively been involved writing and designing for so many different projects, both their own creations and numerous IPs over the years. And so talking about something that is unique, that is niche, that is interesting and beautifully done and new to both of us. That's why we do this. That's just cool.
Yeah, it's such a unique and different game, and both of them are, but Redacted especially, to me,
it's really clever.
Yeah, it's just really clever in the direction they want to that they took it. And they even tease about the fact that this initial launch is not the last of the material. They have material. Aaron will talk about it. I'll just leave it at that. There's just so
Yeah,
much more
yeah, yeah.
material that's coming
It's
out.
it's just ridiculous how plausible it all is.
Yeah.
Aaron Pollyea has a background in astronomy and physics, but currently has a day job dealing with climate change and its intersection with agriculture. He has been a lifelong Star Trek fan and has been working as a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures since it began. In his free time, Aaron may be found gazing through his telescope, reading a good book, or doing historical reenacting with his wife. Al Spader is a middle school science teacher, father of 5-year-old twin boys, and a freelance RPG writer and game designer. As a regular writer for Star Trek Adventures and lead designer of the Sentience 2D20 RPG, Al brings his knowledge of neurodivergence and social emotional learning to the TTRPG community.
So Jason had to hit record before I actually went and started buying things because we were just talking about very cool t-shirts.
It's true.
So I'd like to welcome back Aaron and Al to the show. We've done our introductions already. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us
Yeah, very
again.
much.
Love to have you both back on. And um, tonight we are talking. I'm going to let you do the introduction just because
Well,
I
given that
actually.
most of it is redacted, we aren't actually going to ask you many questions. I've been
Yeah, we might
saving
not
that
be
for a
able
week.
to actually answer them.
That's right, and we want to respect
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I,
Right,
you know,
right.
the funny thing is I used to have the little Rimshot app on my phone where I could go on, and I don't have it anymore. But
It's all right. Zoom would have
um,
filtered it out.
I'm gonna jump ahead, but I want you to
Yeah.
talk about it. But I will say the lore at the beginning of the book when I started reading it because you gave us an early release of the PDF. I got sucked into reading just the lore at the beginning alone. It was so addicting reading through that, even before I got
Yeah.
to like the game mechanics and everything like that.
There were
I
game
just
mechanics.
exactly.
I
I
got
mean,
stuck
you
on the
know,
history, on the timeline. Like you guys know, we're big into world
Mhm,
building and all,
mhm.
and
yes,
just the amount of detail. And I'm not like an alternate history buff, but the way you wove it all together, I
yes.
I could hear my 10-year-old, like I still have the books. I could hear my 10-year-old self who was reading all the alien abduction books at the time from Walden Books. Like I could
Mhm.
hear him like, I knew it.
It just
Mhm.
I loved all that stuff. And it reminded me of like even of I think I even mentioned this of like when STO came out, they had like the Road to 2409 where you could like read the history of
Mhm.
it coming up. And that's what you had me. I was reading along with it. And I have to say that reading all that just it drew me into wanting to play the game more just because not only are you telling the story of it, and I do want you to talk about how the game came to be, but I've kind of jumped further ahead, obviously.
That's
But
okay.
but just by reading that, it drew me into wanting to play the game more, just
Yeah.
because you enveloped me and you are going to envelop the reader into the lore of the game and the series and the universe that you're building.
Hmm.
So about 5 years ago, when I first met Aaron, he said, "Hey, did you know that I have this miniatures game that I was working on?" And I was like, "Oh, sweet, send it over. I'll get a chance to look at it." And of course, it took a couple of times of sending it to me before I finally got a chance
Mhm.
to actually sit down and read through the rules thoroughly. And when we finally started writing for the Yellow Hand or with the Yellow Hand, I said, "Aaron, this is your chance to get your miniatures game made up."
Mhm.
And so that was actually the first project, the Saucer Squadron miniatures game. So, Aaron, you want to give a little bit insight into that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, well, like Al said, it was something that I had worked on for a while. Actually, I had made it. Boy, now it must be like 12 years ago. I had originally
I
written this
remember you
game.
talking about it, Aaron, when we
Yes.
had you on in 22.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean it's the original rule set I made for various reasons. I wanted to make a tactical game that was space based, that wasn't a phone book worth of rules,
Yeah.
I just wanted to have something that somebody could pick up, learn in an hour, and play infinitely. There's just so many
Yeah.
variations on what you can do with it. So, yeah, when Al's like, hey, you need to put this forward, that's where I started getting like the whole, um, you know, not really feeling like it might be worth something, but okay, here it is. And they asked, Yellowhand asked, okay, well, what's the world like? We haven't done
Yeah.
a miniatures game. What's the world like? And I'm like,
Oh.
oh, okay. You want to know what the world is? You want to know about the lore?
Huh, he looks at his
Okay.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore, thus came like the mental vomit from me, where it
Yeah.
was just like, yes, I know everything about 1950s B movies. I know everything about alien abductions and UFO sightings throughout history. You know, like you were saying, you read all these books when you're a kid about alien abductions, or these like
Yeah.
Ripley's Believe It or Not books, or the Burlett's books. I even back when I was a kid, I read John Keel's Mothman Prophecies. Even way
Oh,
before the movie came out, I read that. Things like that. You just sort of absorb it, and it just sits in your head, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll just regurgitate this into a seemingly coherent world, and I think it is actually in the end coherent. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think when Aaron first started talking about the lore and whatnot, I got really captivated too. And I was like, so how do you feel about spinning off a role-playing game
Yeah. It's awesome.
alongside this
Mhm.
tactical miniatures game? And Aaron's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, the very first thing was, so do we want to do it 2D20 like Sentience, or do we want to do it relatively loose rules light? And he thought that the system that we used for Once Upon might be a good fit for Redacted.
Mhm.
So that was when he and I kind of buddied up and started moving forward with the project.
Mhm.
So essentially, the lore all in there is straight out of Aaron's brain. And where mechanics needed to happen, that's where I jumped in
Okay.
and made it work with the system.
Out of curiosity, what's the level of interoperability for someone who wants to play both of these? Like, would it be easy to bleed over?
Between
Uh,
for
The
the
miniatures and the
yes.
RPG. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Saucer
so they're
Squadron
different
and
rules.
Redacted.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, is there
Yeah.
a potential there?
Well, yeah, for the setting, all the setting
Yeah.
is exactly the same.
Right.
It's just that it's a different scale. So, like when
Right.
in Redacted, you're playing the agents, you're playing people on the ground
Yep.
investigating alien crashes or alien interference in Earth society or
Yeah.
cryptids,
Hmm.
something like that. Whereas in Saucer Squadron, you're playing the crew of a saucer, one of
Yeah.
these spacecraft that the governments of Earth have reverse engineered
Right.
alien
Right.
technology and then built on their own.
Yeah.
So it's a different scale.
Right.
So there's
There,
different rules.
but it
But
could
yeah.
be like cinematically kind of, there's a potential there for storytelling if you really wanted to
Oh
play
yeah.
both
Oh
sides,
yeah.
so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could
That's
get
really
into like
cool.
if you want to tell a story where your agents end up on a saucer and that
Yeah.
saucer gets attacked by an enemy saucer, you could
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
absolutely bust out your
Hmm.
miniatures game
Hmm. Yeah.
and play that. It's not the same rule system, but
Right.
it's very
Mhm.
Yeah.
easily
Yeah.
like
That's kind of
done. You
cool.
like here's this encounter now.
And in some of the, well, actually all of the written adventures that we have done so far, there's mention, at least for Redacted, there's mention of saucers
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
used for something in the background,
Right.
or you see them in operation as the agents, and then vice versa.
Hmm.
The things that I've written for Saucer Squadron, they talk about Majestic or the 10th Directorate on Earth operating, as agents on the ground.
Cool.
And our first release, our first book that's pretty much ready to go is going to be a source book that can be used for both games.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
So it's going to have the lore in it,
Yeah.
and then there's going to be the RPG stuff, and then there's going to be the miniature stuff.
Okay, that's going to be
So
really fun to read.
yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
you can
cool.
have access to all of it.
Yeah. Oof. Okay, so
Are you?
yeah.
Oh, go ahead,
I was
Jason.
just
Go
no, go
ahead.
ahead because I cut one of you guys off with my question and I want to get back on track. Yeah. I was just curious. Yeah.
No, so you've built two games in this universe. And you've just talked about a source book. I don't want to step too far ahead.
Yeah.
You've now built, in effect, a universe with two different games.
Um, you know, what do you have plans? Let me ask that. That's a spoiler question. I don't want to do that. Um,
Presumably there are more books
you
you
have
would
more.
guys want to
You have
do.
further plans. You have
Yeah.
further plans now
Oh
within
yeah.
this
Yeah.
universe.
You're not
No.
like,
Yeah.
okay, that was good. We're done. We'll walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, Al, tell me if I'm wrong, but like I have already come up with at least four different source books
Mm,
that can be put out. And it should be fairly obvious what a lot of those source books will be once the first source book gets released. Al, can we say what that first source
Yeah, we
book
can say that.
is
Yeah,
like?
yeah. Yeah, we can say
It's
the
a
first.
1950s specific source book. So it goes
Oh, that's
way
cool.
more
makes
into
sense.
detail in the 1950s,
Yeah.
and then detailing out both agencies. Well, not both. I shouldn't say both. The two major agencies, and then the other agencies that come into play during the 1950s.
Very
So
cool.
if you want to make assumptions about what other source books there are after that, you can, and you might be right, but yeah, we have those plans, and then we have plans for
A campaign book.
yeah, campaign
Neat.
book.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
So like we're not gonna let this go.
No, good.
We're
Yeah.
excited about it. And I think the system really complements the world in that it does put storytelling first, but it
Yeah.
also allows for like, if you are into tactical type role playing, it allows for that as well, which is cool.
Can you
So
talk
should
a
we
bit about the oh, go
Mechanic.
ahead, Aaron. Go ahead. I was going to
Oh
ask
no,
about the
I was
mechanic,
I,
but
I was gonna say, should we talk about like the setting
Oh,
overall?
yeah,
Like,
please.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
um, just
Yeah.
for people that might not
Yeah.
know us from like other things that we've.
Setting mechanic, anything you're willing to jump into for everybody.
So
Yeah.
the basic idea of Saucer Squadron and Redacted is that in 1947 the Roswell crash actually does happen,
Right.
and the U.S. is able to reverse engineer gray technology, reticulin
Just a
technology.
great premise.
And when the US launches its first saucer in 1949, there's reticulans that have been searching for the lost saucer. And they see this US saucer go up and they say to themselves, oops, yeah, I think we screwed up. So they come down and basically say, all right, great. We'll work with you, America. Like we screwed up, our bad. But we don't want you to destroy the world and or like influence it too much in your own way with this advanced technology that we just let into your hand. So they go to the Soviets and give you know Stalin the same technology, and as to sort of have like a counterpoint there. And then there's a lot of diplomacy that happens where the nations that have this technology form a treaty. It's called the Trilateral Treaty because originally it's the Greys, the US, and the Soviets. And it's a lot of specific rules about how these nations can operate with each other, what they can and can't do with this technology. And it's enforced by the Reticulans. And then the stories sort of progress from there
Yeah.
of what happens.
And
It's like
most
they,
importantly, you're like the governments are responsible for keeping this information away from the general public.
right.
And the means of doing that is what your characters end up role playing in the redacted game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they use
So
the
this
subprime directive.
Sort of.
Okay, I got
Sort
wait,
of.
before we
Like,
get into the specifics, so I got it's I mean it's just a hell of a creative concept, right? It's one thing to say, okay, Roswell really happened. There are a lot of people who already believe that. That's great.
yeah.
But then to go from there and like maintain, and I get what you're doing with the alternate history, but to maintain the Cold War, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to flesh out that story. Just before we keep going forward, I just wonder if either or both of you, especially Aaron, but if either or both of you could just say a little more in terms of, I know you had all these ideas back on the burner, but like how did you get there? I mean I know that's a hard question, but like that's a that's a lot. Like that's I mean like Brad was saying, that's creating a world that still has like some necessary boundaries from reality.
Mm-hmm.
But and I mean what like what you guys this isn't like Star Trek. This isn't like a cyberpunk. This is like what you just said sounds ridiculously plausible.
Mhm.
Like, how did you do that?
I put the boundaries, I put even harder boundaries on that, like the events of our world have to still happen.
Right?
Yes.
So like
Hmm.
all the events that we know of, like the Vietnam War that happens in the
Right.
60s, or
Right.
everything that we know happens still happens in
Right.
the Majestic universe.
Hmm.
So, how do you do that? You just kind
Yeah.
of go, okay, well, where can I fill in around the edges of all these events? Because there's still all of these UFO sightings really being reported. There's
Hmm.
all these encounters and people claiming that they're contactees, like
Yeah.
Adamski. He's claiming that he's talking to Venusians. Well, that's real life that he's claiming that, but now it's real. Let's say that he's
Mhm.
actually talking to people. And yeah, you just sort of fill in around the edges in
Yeah.
a fantastical sense. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and for me, it's almost like we don't want it to be an alternate history. It's an
Mhm.
right.
enhanced history.
Yeah.
It's a history
Yeah.
that's been happening all
Yeah.
along that
Better.
we
Thank
just
you.
didn't
Yes.
know
Right.
because of the agents that are working for,
Right.
Majestic and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
like this, for as far as we know in the real world right now, this stuff could have been happening. It's just
Right.
all been covered up, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's where we came up with, the concept of redacted, right?
Yeah.
Because the regular people don't necessarily know that this is happening.
That's
They
where I
might
think the
think they
vibe
know.
is just so unique because it really feels like that. Like
And
that
then
totally plausible.
they not only like agents not only go around and either threaten people or cover things up by like convincing people
Oh,
it's
that
for the
doesn't sound
best.
like real life at all. But go on.
No, I mean, like you can say there's certain nations that might threaten people a little
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
others,
Yeah.
but like some of it comes down to like specifically Majestic funding Hollywood movies to cover up incidents that might have been wild. And now that the movie is out,
Oh.
they can, like, society as a whole would hear somebody that might have seen something very similar and say, "No, you just saw that movie.
That's so cool.
That's where you got that idea from." So yeah, trying to cover it up through mass media.
That's just so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we wanted conspiracies to be flying left and right. We want players to like get fun and goofy and ridiculous with different conspiracies that could be happening. And so much so that we actually made it one of the core mechanics of the game. So
Hmm.
similar to like how Star Trek Adventures, you have values.
Hmm.
Instead, in Redacted, everyone has conspiracies. And if they can apply their conspiracy to a situation that they're in, they get bonuses.
This
So,
is uncomfortably realistic.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean we do put some like safeguards on what we suggest like for people to have as conspiracies,
Yeah.
like, hey, look, we understand that there's like racist conspiracies out there and conspiracies that are
Yeah. Smart.
just
Yeah.
total nonsense that can
Yep.
be easily disproven,
Hmm.
especially if you have a flying saucer yourself and can go up and see that the earth is round. So don't take those kinds of conspiracies. Come up with
Right.
something really weird. And I think one of the examples is FDR never died, his brain is ruling the nation from below the White House. Like, you can't easily prove that wrong. That's pretty wacky. It's pretty weird, but it's something, right? Go with it.
If
So much
only.
fun.
Yeah, I was waiting for you, Brad. I could see the face. Yeah.
I was trying to
That
find a pithy
explains
comment. I
so
couldn't think
much.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was trying to find a pithy comment. Could you talk a little bit about the mechanic? You talked a bit about the conspiracy and
Sure.
values there,
Yeah, please.
but we've talked a lot on the show about the 2D20, but we've talked with you about
Yep. Yep.
once, but we haven't talked too deep about the mechanic. So do
Yep.
you mind kind of going into that a
No,
little?
not at all.
So we actually determined, because Once Upon is a very much focused on collaborative storytelling, that I went super bare bones on mechanics for that. So I actually had to beef up the mechanics a little bit for Redacted
Sure.
because we wanted it to have a little bit more of an action feel. But basically, you have four attributes, and whatever number you have in your attributes, that's how many D12s you roll in a pool of dice. Um, if you have a test, or you want to do something and you don't know if the outcome is going to be successful or not, that's when you roll your dice, right? So you look at your attribute, and let's say your attribute has that a 5. You get to roll 5d12. Then you look at your competencies. Your competencies can have up to 3 levels. And each level of competency um, changes the number that you need to roll on your d12 to have a success. So in redacted, a 12 counts as 2 successes, an 11 counts as 1 success. So if you have training, if you have your competencies leveled up, uh, you tick down from an 11 to get more chances of having a success.
That is clever.
So, and in a similar way to the 2d20 system, where if you roll more successes, you generate momentum. In Redacted, you generate what are called edits. And
I saw
edits
that.
can do things like buy you more dice for your pool, lower your threshold, the number that you need to be successful, or change a scene and whatnot. We also have props. So props can be weapons, they can be techniques, they can be training. And if you're doing your test and a prop is helping you with that test, you add an additional D12 to your pool.
Interesting. Okay.
And then the very important thing that Aaron really wanted to get in there was what we call special effects. And special effects are essentially like talents from 2d20
Yep.
or
Yep.
D&D or whatnot. So we had a fun time coming up with different ideas for talents that characters can have. And it like to make it feel more B movie-ish. We got a couple of really fun ones in there, like Bad Edit, I think is the name of one, and it essentially allows you to a character may randomly show up in another location without having to have moved there. Because there was a bad edit. The scene where they moved there was cut out and not put back into the movie, so to speak.
As long as they normally could move there,
Yes. Yep.
under their own power. So not through locked doors or things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah.
Yep.
And the other one's
It's
continuity error.
awesome.
Continuity error is a fun one where you just randomly have a prop that you didn't originally have. It just shows up. It's in your hands for some reason. Right. Oh, I had this all along. So like just trying to like get the feel of those 50s sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then in play, conspiracy would lay on top of that. How?
So conspiracy. So if your conspiracy applies once per mission, you can re-roll the dice in your pool.
Very good. Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so there's no hit points or anything like that.
Yep.
Instead,
Yep.
each attribute has problems associated with it.
Yeah.
So if you like get hit by an enemy or you have a traumatic failure or something like that, you start gaining these problems. Well, problems have 3 levels as well. So once you start gaining problems, you set your target number for your dice, you tick down for your competencies, and then you tick back up
Right.
if you have problems,
Right.
essentially. And there are mechanics for clearing problems and things like that as
Yeah,
well.
that's clearly inspired by a whole range of things, some of which you've worked on.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I would say that there's some 2d20 in there.
Yep, definitely.
There's some Forged in the Dark in there.
Okay.
I would say that there's some Year Zero in there as well.
Okay.
Tales from the Loop inspired me quite a bit.
Nice.
So yeah, that is the gist of it. It is an opposed system of rolling. So whoever is reactive rolls to set the difficulty for the person that's proactively trying to, hit them or figure out what's
Right.
going on.
If you're go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
I was gonna say, as someone who would want to like GM something like this, would you say like the prep work would be for them to do it? As opposed, and that's a nebulous question. If you're so you're going to have, I would imagine you're going to, like you had said, you're going to come out with like a campaign or a campaign guide or with something like that. But how do you see prepping or preparing as a GM for Redacted being maybe a little different than like prepping for like D&D or prepping for like STA or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it really any different, or is it as it being more narrated or story driven? I guess
So
maybe that's the core of the question.
I would say the biggest thing, the biggest difference is that there's emphasis on the downtime, right?
Yeah,
Because that's how you
interesting.
clear problems. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Like if you're go, 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 the problems that you're occurring, whether it's injuries, whether it's being distracted, whether it's, whatnot, um, you're going to have a more challenging time being successful with all this stuff weighing on you. So it does emphasize, like, when you see these B movies, there's downtime at a
Hmm.
motel, right?
Absolutely.
Where people can catch their breath, where they can, reflect upon what they've been learning, things like that. And so I think as a GM, knowing that there is value, there's character value in that downtime,
Yeah.
I think is a big learning curve for some people that might be coming from other games that don't
Mhm.
focus so much on it.
So
Ah,
this is interesting. Okay, so to this point, because this is kind of what I wanted to where I wanted to go a little bit. So taking a big step back, kind of, I mean, beyond gaming here for a sec. And this will just kind of industry wide now, if you will, stepping away for a moment from redacted. Hopefully that's not all of it will be crossed out when I get back. So it seems to me, not universally, but there is a general trend in RPGs over the past several years now, general trend to an extent move away from hit points, move away from even leveling up all of those things, and focus increasingly on extended tasks, problem solving. Still lots of opposed checks, but not so much worried about how much pew pew this weapon has, right? Where this weapon becomes more of a mod or a trait of the scene,
Mhm.
not so much something that carries its own dice, right? And we see that obviously with a lot of games, but it seems that outside of like D&D and Pathfinder and whatnot, I don't know, what do you guys think? Like to me, because what you're talking about seems like another example of that, of really pushing story, albeit with a beautiful mechanic, right? Because I love the
Mhm.
mechanics, but not being as concerned with like figuring out, these wild swings on damage dice, and more trying to stay in the scene, stay in the moment, stay in the adventure, including that between time. I'm just curious, with you guys writing all this and designing all this, what you're seeing and what you're thinking.
Aaron, you
I
want to respond to
Yeah,
that
I
first?
mean, I guess I would agree that there has been that trend, and I think it's mainly because the games that have been being released, not all, but like a lot of these games that at least I've been encountering and you've been encountering to see this trend have been ones that have been more interested in telling stories, where knowing exactly how fast a bullet is moving,
Right.
that's just not really that important. And yeah, Redacted is like that.
Hmm.
Does it have guns? Of course it does. It's the 1950s. There's going to be firearms around, and different firearms would have different effects on a scene, but that's
Yep.
all you need to know is an effect on a scene.
Right.
Like, how does this work to progress the story along? But yeah, there has been that trend. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's more focus on story and character.
Hmm.
So I think I think that there are ways that you can run role-playing games that run a gambit of um, the type of games that are being played, right? You can do combat
Yep.
simulation,
Yep.
you can do storytelling.
Mhm.
Uh, I would argue that some of my favorite games are a little bit of both, right?
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
sure, there's a scale, there's a slider there that different people have different tolerances for how much of each they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at the big games on the market, to me, they feel a lot more like you're playing video games, which that's not a negative at all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's not the type of role playing that I'm into, right? I like to say, okay, I was shot with your gun in the shoulder, and now I'm telling the story of what it's like to run around with
Right.
a
Mhm.
wound in my shoulder. Do you know what
Right.
I mean?
Yep.
As opposed to worrying about having 127 hit points instead of 200 hit points,
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so I think the simulationists, really prefer being able to track those numbers, which is fine. Like that if I'm totally on board with,
Mhm.
if that's your style of role playing,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
Get it. Like go do it. But it does seem to be like there's a lot more story driven mechanics that have been releasing lately. Forge, like I said, Forged in the Dark was the big one that I kind of took the injury concept from, or the
Right.
problem concept from. And what's really cool in the game is, let's say you roll your dice and you don't succeed on your test, you can persevere. Persevere means you give yourself an additional problem, but then you
Nice.
also get to re-roll your pool.
Mhm.
So like you could
Mm,
potentially get more
Ah,
successes by pushing yourself harder,
yeah.
right? But you have to pay for that on the back end, right? It's kind of like when you get threat from the 2d20 system.
Right. Right.
Um, so I do think that the type of storytelling is different between hit points
Yes.
based and,
Yes.
you know, um, wound based or whatever.
What also works for both sets of people, at least in the Majestic universe, we have Redacted for more storytelling aspects, and then Saucer
Mm-hmm.
Squadron for the simulationists, the people that
Right.
want to have like a
Right.
tactical game where you keep track of hit points. In this case, like, how much shields a saucer has or what its hull integrity still is. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're both there and they both are in the same universe. So hey, we have both sides of the coin.
Which is why everyone should buy both and personally compare them. Just saying.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I would say that owning both would give you different perspectives for either
Yeah.
one of your games.
I
Just
really
because
like
there's
that.
going to be
Yeah.
information in them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we very much wanted to put that distinction between the two, saying what's happening on the ground versus what's happening in the air,
Hmm.
or
Mhm.
in space, because we wanted the worlds to overlap, but we wanted the games to feel different. So there's
Mhm.
something there for everyone.
do you foresee? No, I'm not going to go there. I really, there's so many questions, and I'm normally not like this, but I read so much into that is like, it's funny. I did this with with Once Upon, I did this with Sentience, and I did this especially with Redacted. I got really into like reading the PDF. Um, I'm, you know, I'm
He's
gonna ask it
rebooting.
anyway.
Hold on a
I'm
sec.
I'm gonna I'm
Here.
gonna ask it. I'm gonna ask it
Go ahead,
anyway.
ask it.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna ask
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you foresee at some point down the road potentially adding, like, even though you have a tactical type game with Saucer Squadron, having some type of mechanic or even though you're agents and all that, and like you said, you have, there is, I'm using the wrong terminology here,
You,
connectivity. You see the saucers. You
I
can,
know where you're going with this.
with
Yeah.
the saucers within Redacted, do you see more connectivity to saucers? Let me put it that way. Within the Redacted game in the future. Let me ask that. Maybe that's more of a nebulous way without going
So
too far down the
let
road.
me be nebulous by going back, Aaron, and if you want to clarify this at all, feel free.
Yeah.
Um, I think that as we progress through a timeline,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
we are going to see new options opening up
No more needs to be
as we
said.
progress.
Actually, that I was gonna that was my question, not a leading question or a product question, but
Yeah.
obviously with the timeline, like obviously because this is history, right? This could
Yeah.
Mhm.
just keep going to the present day, and I mean,
And
Mhm.
and
beyond.
beyond, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
obviously that's been on your minds as well. I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's just very provocative, like very compelling,
And
like the
I
fact that
pretty
it could
much have
keep
that
going.
all sort of plotted out,
I'm
at
not
least like
surprised.
the big bullet points all the way
I see it
through.
as like a living game,
Yeah.
and even if the material is not there right now, I could see someone wanting to, if they wanted to, use the mechanic
But
and the material that's there. They could
Well,
play
but
right now.
history
Mhm.
is full of it, right? Like I think
Yeah.
like immediately like Clinton, addressing the Allen Hills meteorite. Like there are
Hmm.
so many things like that which just would be so like you could so easily use this stuff. Like it's all there, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm not going to ask more questions in terms of the future, but
That that yeah,
it's nice
I
to
normally don't do
know.
that. I
It's
just
nice to know though that you guys are thinking about that because like as much as I'm intrigued by like the 40s and 50s and whatnot, right?
Mhm.
That's because that's really cool. But like for me as a gamer, I could see, okay, when this starts hitting like the 80s and 90s, then I think I'd become doubly hooked, right? Because that's our era, right? But that would and then the future, that's just cool. Okay, so shifting gears for a sec here.
Jason's going to actually create a player character that is himself in the game. That's what's going to end up happening.
Somebody
We're gonna
that's
go to
listened to way too much Coast to Coast AM
yeah,
and is
our
really
little Art
Oh
interested in
Bell.
the
man,
Phoenix
give it
Yeah,
Lights.
all. Give me
Yeah.
all the Art Bell, please.
Just
Yeah.
yes,
gag, gag, gag.
yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, so obviously, like
Dude, did we actually go? We actually, I think, went and saw Mars Attacks like 2 or 3 times. I think.
I know I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, we saw it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't know why
Yeah, I
we
think
did,
you're
but we
right.
did.
I
I don't know
At the
why,
time it was
but
hilarious.
yes.
It still kind of is.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see a lot of this coming through your respective social media feeds and like talking to you guys and whatnot. Excuse me. And it's clear that both games, um, are developing a following. Like, I mean, just the fact that Yellowhand is publishing it, like, no question about that. But I'm curious what, if anything, you have seen yet, that gives you a sense of how they are both being received, beyond just kind of the one-to-one stuff. Like, it looks like, from our perspective, like they're being received really well. But do you guys have a sense of whether the games are making their way out into the world?
I've seen social media posts with some of the art from Saucer
Nice.
Squadron pop up on Russian social media, oddly. Like
Interesting.
and just like pointing to some of
Yeah.
the art
What?
that is
No, but
Really?
there's a
yeah.
logic. Like I can see that. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's just because I've made sure that since the two major factions are, the US and the Soviets, there are others, that, I'm trying to represent
Yeah.
everyone equally. And yeah,
Hmm.
when you have like Soviet soldiers, hanging out with a reticulan, people tend to
Yeah.
like that
But I
when
think
you're
that
from
that's
there.
phenomenal because it says that those players can see themselves or their avatars in the game. That's really good.
But Al, you've probably had more like interaction with people playing Redacted than I have.
So I've done some play testing, and at the end of every playtest session during the final scenes, my entire table is laughing, having a good time, um, really interacting with some of um, the unique aspects of the game that make it feel like a B movie.
Yeah.
Um, and they're pretty excited about it. I've got a lot of people on socials talking about, the art that I've been putting up and
Yeah.
are really, really into it, including like, I mean, even Dayton Ward reached out and said that it looks like spectacular.
Excellent.
So we're pretty excited about that. Uh, Aaron, have you had a chance to run Saucer Squadron for a couple of folks as well?
I have. I've run Saucer Squadron quite a bit. I've had pretty good feedback with it.
Yeah.
Um, Again, different feel.
Yeah.
It's not really role playing.
Hmm.
Though we do tend to role play during it because I've worn my Soviet uniform that I have with the proper shoulder bars for the 10th Directorate. If you did not know, the 10th Directorate is the agency working for the Soviets that is one of these treaty organizations, just like Majestic is and the United States Saucer Force for the US. Yeah, I've done that. So I like will role play as the Soviet guy there. But yeah, we've had fun. We've had fun with it.
So I'm not
I,
sure when this episode is dropping, but our release date is October 30th. So hopefully it probably has already released and done exceptionally well for the first week or so,
Yes.
as people are listening to this.
And this will
So that's
just
pretty
be
exciting.
that was just days before this drops on the 3rd.
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well,
yeah.
touch wood, touch wood.
Yep.
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 I know that for like Saucer Squadron, um, it's listed as coming soon, but like the 3D printed miniatures, I'm
Mhm.
waiting just for that because I really want to get one like the little saucers to put on my desk, just because like
Oh
the
yeah.
little lasers on the top, the little pew pew lasers on top of the saucer. Jason, you got to go look at it. I think it's actually like it looks awesome.
Yeah, we were actually
And
just talking with our 3D print. Is that Royce? Is that his name, Aaron?
No,
Um,
not Roy, Sarge.
oh, Sarge. Sorry, Sarge has been doing our 3D our STLs and whatnot, and he's like, "What can we do to like make the American saucers look different than everyone else?" And so
Mhm,
like
mhm.
we came up with the concept of adding like wings, like you know a
Mhm.
57 Chevrolet might have or something like that to like make it like
oh,
so he's doing a lot of really cool modeling stuff. And our hope is to have both the models and the STLs available ASAP. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see,
I had.
I'm not a big miniatures person, but just in terms of like having like some like saucers to play this, I think I would do that just because I think they're just I don't know, it's just the retro feel and the look of them. I don't know.
Hmm.
There's something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
when I first started putting together like all the art notes for Saucer Squadron, it was like, hey, look, the like US saucers should have like fins and grills, and they should look kind of silvery, but and high tech for at least a 1950s car, where the Soviets will be more like geometric shapes or cylinders, that sort of thing, like the cylinder UFOs that were reported a lot.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I also try to like connect them with like actually, actual UFO sightings back in the day, just those styles. So yeah, yeah. There's thought actually put into the art in the books. Um, and I hope you see me in the books a little bit too. I pop up a little bit in Redacted.
He sure does, which is great.
Okay, so we have to wait. Let's go there. So not there, but let's go adjacent to that. So you guys have built these games around saucers and aliens and plausibility, right? Like you said, Al, history, not alternate history.
Mhm.
So, especially given at least three of us are science or science adjacent, and well, so are you, Brad, because like you're friends with all of us. So. I have to question, we'll put you on the record here. So, and you can answer like as a child, but I'm curious. So, what are your thoughts? Because you put all this effort into it. Obviously, as kids, we all geeked out about this, but so I'll level two questions. You can answer either or both. Uh, have we been visited? Or more provocatively, what are your thoughts about life in the universe beyond Earth?
Go ahead, Al. I'll let you go first.
So I believe that we have been visited in the past, in the ancient past, and I believe that um, a lot of our stories about different gods may be connected to that. I do like the concept of Chariot of the Gods and Eric von Daniken. I find very very fascinating, and basically what they rooted the Stargate series in, I
Hmm.
think is very plausible. Um, right now, I think that like if I was on my deathbed and all the wonders of the universe were revealed to me, I'd be more surprised if they said there was no other life out there than if there was. That being said, I don't know if it's multicellular intelligent life, but I'm sure that at some point we're going to find at least microscopic life forms in many different places because we know extremophiles are pretty abundant here on Earth, so why wouldn't they be elsewhere as well?
I think the universe is way too big for there not to be life elsewhere, and intelligent life to be elsewhere. There has to be. The real question is if it's close enough to us to have visited us. That I have no idea, because we have the Fermi paradox. Like,
Hmm.
Hmm.
life should be abundant. It should be out there, but why don't we see it everywhere? Well, who knows what that reason is? There's a dozen different reasons why that people generally think are decent theories about why that's the case. But even though I have like my astrophysics background, I can't really answer that. I can just
Hmm.
answer that the conditions for life are everywhere and the universe is really vast. There's probably other people out there that look exactly like us. It's just they probably aren't likely right next to us.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if you look at the Drake equation, I mean, it kind of basically says without a doubt there is something
Mhm.
else out there. Um, like, it's overwhelmingly possible. So, it's just like Aaron said, can it get to us? Can it communicate with us? Can it like space is so big.
Mhm.
Space is
Well,
so big that we can't even really fathom how big it is. So we might the truth of the matter is there could be someone on the other side of the universe, um, and we would never know it.
so if there isn't, it's an awfully big waste of space.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for
And
sure.
I from my perspective, um, you know, even with my faith is important to me, but that doesn't preclude the fact that I still believe that they're again, it would be a waste of space that there wouldn't be something
Mhm.
out there. But I'm not a scientist. I don't have a science educational background. But um, as to whether or not we've been visited or not, um,
Mhm.
I leave that to the scientists to tell me whether or not we've had that or not. There's been a lot of stories out there that said we have been or
Mhm.
haven't been. Um, but I'll leave I leave that to science to tell me.
I've said before that my spirit animal is Fox Mulder, and I want to believe.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to believe that we have been visited over and over and over again, and that like there are reticulans just, sitting up there and watching us and waiting to actually, land and land openly. But I don't know. I understand that that's just sort of like a belief, a hope. But yeah,
Yeah.
who knows?
There was, I haven't read them, but I saw, as we're recording, I saw yesterday, I want to say on Twitter, a post out of a lab of two papers. Maybe Aaron, maybe you saw this, but and I don't remember where they came out or where they went. One was or what the university, what the lab was. One though got put in the proceedings of the the Pacific Astronomical Society, one of the journals, and the other one made it into scientific reports. And I think it was using some of the new Rubin telescope data that they argued there's now like a 22 sigma likelihood that some of the sightings are best explained based on distance as thermonuclear detonations. I know
Interesting.
I didn't follow up, but I thought, okay, so this is a novel, fascinating use of a wonderful new
Hmm.
tool, and maybe we will get an answer, even if it's whether it's microbial or not in our lifetimes. We went by Pluto, and I never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, boy, new horizons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just saw a picture this week that took our first ever telescopic photo of Pluto versus the most recent photo that we
Mhm.
have of Pluto, and just seeing the difference in detail to know that in, you know, 40 years, this is how much technology has moved forward. Um, I can't even imagine what's going to happen in the next 50 years, as far as, observing space beyond. Yeah,
Well,
hopefully we can find that info.
we are hoping, Brad and I are hoping that that information comes out in an unyet announced source book for Redacted that will bring us to the future and
I,
beyond.
I I do have one final very important question to ask the gentleman as before we do wrap up, and that is in January there's a new television series coming out called Starfleet Academy. And I'm just wondering if you have any initial thoughts on what if you've seen any of the teasers or seen anything related to it, if you have any initial thoughts on any of it, just because I know that both of you are on the periphery of Trek knowledge and
Yeah,
Mhm.
interest.
you're somewhat involved, right?
Yeah, you have a little bit of knowledge and understanding of the world of Trek. And I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are of it, and if it's
That's a good
garnered
question.
interest.
I mean, I think that I'm hopeful that it's going to be a return to the Trek that we know and love. Um, I'm a little concerned at a couple of the scenes with the child and the angry guy. It seems a little bit brutal. Uh, but the big thing that I'm looking forward to is I always find something that I can use out of every Star Trek episode that I
Sure,
watch, right?
sure.
So what I'm really looking forward to, and Jason, you and I talked about this when we met up for brunch recently,
Yeah,
well, a
yeah,
couple months ago, I guess,
yeah,
was that if we can see like the core tenets and curriculum path
exactly.
of Starfleet Academy, I think that's something that we've been like I think that needs to be explored a little bit more because
Yes.
we've always mentioned the academy as like an afterthought.
Hmm.
But actually knowing what that path looks like for someone as
Right.
they travel through, to have that detailed out, I think would be really, really useful in a Star Trek campaign,
Yeah.
and for storytelling, especially
'Cause-
like if I'm role playing a character and I want to talk about my time
right.
in Academy, like to be able to reference back to that would be really, really cool.
Because the Kobayashi Maru is great fun, but in no way representative of what those 4 years would be like as a
Right.
whole.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. How about you,
Yeah,
Aaron?
all
What
we
do you
know about
think?
is Kobayashi
Yeah.
Maru and Boothby. We need to know
Right.
more than
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen the trailers, so I have to assume I know nothing about what the show is actually about. That the trailers
Exactly.
and teasers are actually just there to gain your interest, to go, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, these are the people that are in here, here's the visual style." But I don't know
Yep.
anything about the stories yet. So I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to knowing what the stories are.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Great.
messed with me by throwing Cisco on it. That's what they did. They messed with my mind and my emotions by
Mhm.
putting Captain Cisco in there. They
Yeah, it's
did it
probably
with
just
me.
reading material that the kids have
Yep.
to
Mhm.
work through. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
as a reference or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's, it's a fun way to kind of pay homage to all of Trek, right? Is to
Yeah.
like have them represented as part of the core learning for the new students. So
I
Yeah.
am looking forward to Robert Picardo. He's always a
Oh,
joy.
yes.
I
Oh,
love seeing him in anything. I love it when he pops up as like a bit character in like 80s B movies, and I'm just like, oh, it's Robert Picardo,
So if you
Yeah.
guys don't listen to Strange New Worlds, the science and Star Trek podcast by Mike Wong, good for Mike. His latest episode, he like literally just came out the other day. He got Robert Picardo to come on, and
oh,
Mike's an
awesome.
astrobiologist, and he's just a lovely guy. But Picardo talked a bit about his new role, and it was very clear. Look, I don't say anything because I don't want to get in trouble, but did say a few little things that made me quite optimistic to both of your points in terms of the tone
Good.
and what we might and what I mentioned this because toward the end of the interview he said, and again, you never know, like you're saying, Aaron, but he said this new show goes back to the optimism of
mm,
Trek, and we don't see that in the trailer.
No,
mm,
But that's
no, you don't see that at
him
all in the
at
trailer.
all in the trailer, right? Other than like when they're, the integrity, dignity, respect stuff, which is beautiful. But his comment in the interview was, "This show goes back to that." No way to know how representative that is, but I found that awfully. Uh, it makes me hopeful about the show.
Hmm.
other than the fact that someone said that they didn't realize that hoodies would be popular in the 32nd century.
He also
Uh,
said that. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, he didn't say that.
Okay.
And that
Pretty much. He talked about
Klingons got
zippers. Yeah.
yeah, Klingons
Yeah.
got really skinny.
More
Even
So
fashion,
importantly, though.
even fashion is cyclical, just like education, right?
I
Oh, it
guess.
totally, absolutely. My daughters have both I've seen wearing like semi bell bottoms.
Yep.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much. The games Saucer Squadron and Redacted,
So
they're
I
absolutely
just
fascinating.
I want to plug. I just wanted to do a plug for them because if
Yep.
you're interested in Saucer Squadron is literally if you go out to drive through RPG, you can pick up Saucer Squadron for only $9, which is the PDF and the soft cover.
Oh my God.
Um, it's on sale. It's $9 and then shipping. at Drive-Through RPG right now. So that is a screaming deal. And we just got done talking about how I can't afford to buy anything.
And
Um,
Redacted will be up as well,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
as you're listening to this, and
Yep.
it will be
Perfect timing.
available in PDF, softcover, or hardcover.
Oh,
Excellent.
goodness gracious. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. I was hoping. Yeah.
So yeah, if you're out there, take a look, head over to look up, we'll have the Yellow
Yeah,
Hands
we'll have all the
website
links.
on the
Absolutely.
show notes.
Yeah.
Click on it, head on over.
Everybody
Great
make
deals
sure
on
you
the
do what
games.
Brad does, buy the hardcovers and the paperback so that you have a shelf copy and a table copy, and you always have a pristine copy.
And
Yeah,
before we check out of
maybe
here,
don't do that, but
bef-
buy them anyway. But don't necessarily do it because of the way I did it.
before we get out of here, I just want to give one shout out to Jay Sudelius, who did the layout for the book. So all the
Yeah, looks
montages,
great.
all the incorporation of Aaron in there as his in his military gear and all that fun stuff, and finding these old Russian marches and putting UFOs in the background, like.
Mhm.
I'm sure he was laughing and having a fun time doing it, but that guy works his butt off to get the layout done for
Excellent.
every single Yellow Hand book. And so I just want to give Jay a big thanks because he's like the third member of this
Excellent.
team.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
trilateral team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Because it
And
visually
he has
totally
to deal with me
captures.
going, "Oh, those ears aren't big enough," or maybe we should change the skin tone on this alien to be a little less blue.
Nice.
He has to he puts up with a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna actually throw a little plug out there. I don't know if you guys have seen. Jason's gonna laugh at this. There's this video out there that's gotten real popular. The Star Trek '80s Miami Vice music video. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just no. It's called
Oh,
it's
no.
called Red Alert Baby.
Red alert, baby. Yeah.
I'm thinking that there should start to be like some videos of like Aaron in some of these like rehashed like videos where they like superimpose Aaron into
Yes.
like
I like it.
old Red Square videos with Brezhnev and with Khrushchev.
With
And,
Al looking sternly in the background.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
potential here. Yeah.
See,
yeah,
I went a completely different way with that, Brad. I was
yeah.
thinking, imagine Majestic in the 80s being
Yes.
more of a Miami
Yes.
Vice type
Oh,
Oh,
oh my
cover-up
God.
group.
There'd
well,
be
that would be good too. There we go.
Hey,
Oh,
when you got to go,
that's
when you have to go
awesome.
into the Everglades to cover up a crash there, you got to look,
That's
you
right.
got to look the part, man.
Put on your
You gotta have
pastel, pull up your
yeah,
sleeves, let's go.
and the shoulder pads and the whole
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, there you
Oh.
go.
It's just making sure that the reticulans can like mentally project the image of a nice Hawaiian shirt too.
Yep, yep.
Like I was gonna say our younger listeners have no idea what's going on, but we
Not
don't
at
have
all.
them, so
But
don't
we don't
worry.
have younger listeners, so it doesn't matter.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. It's
Yes,
really
thank
just
you.
thanks for wasting some time with us. We've been really keen on talking to you both anytime, but especially about these, and congrats ahead for or by the time this comes out recently with Redacted. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us on. Yeah, that like we love chatting with you guys too. And I can't wait for the time when we can all break bread together again someday.
That'd be great.
Thanks to Al and to Aaron for joining us today. I love the premise of both of the games.
Mhm,
I just
mhm.
think that the idea of a tabletop role-playing game like Redacted, for whatever reason, I just have it in my head. It's kind of like a spy thriller type of thing with aliens and all. There's just something unique about it that would be different to play.
Yes.
And should we ever get playing regularly, to add something like that down the road would be kind of cool.
In my head, I heard a laugh track, but go
Yeah,
on.
I know. I did too. I did too. Although we can tease that we have done some gaming lately.
We have. I think we should just keep it at that.
Let's just leave it.
We're
that's
just
the
gonna.
tease.
Yes, that's the tease. We've done some gaming
Before,
lately.
well, let's head over to the Loon Cafe
Let's do
but I
that.
have a question as we grab our coffee from the counter.
That's right.
And how many days is it
2.
until okay. Well, now I have to answer. See, this is why when we started at the beginning, we always talk before we hit record how many minutes we should do before the as an intro and how many minutes we should do as an
This is
outro. And
why
I'm
we
like,
left extra time for the
and
Loot
I'm like,
Cafe.
let's do a short
Mm,
intro because we
yeah.
might talk a little more as at the outro.
Yes.
Um, and that is because from Mongoose Publishing,
Yep.
gaming company that does Paranoia and Traveler,
Mm-hmm.
now owns all of Traveler IP.
Mm-hmm. And that is a lot
They
of IP.
That is a lot of IP, some of it of which being on my shelf. A lot of it being on my shelf.
So much.
Yes. The Pioneer RPG is launching its Quickstarter. And I will be honest with you, there have been things that have come up on my radar that I have put
Ditto.
into my wish list in Amazon and have just put
That's right.
away
Good man.
because
Because we're gonna drop some coin in 2 days.
oh yes, we are.
So as we're recording this, the Kickstarter for the Pioneer RPG from Mongoose is dropping in 2 days.
Which is what day?
So that's October 30.
Okay.
Um, and actually on the Discord, on the questions for Mongoose
Did you get an
channel,
answer to
I
your
did
you
write
asked
it,
a
yeah, like
question?
that day.
Yeah.
So you guys have to understand, everyone listening, our dear listeners here, that it was not quite a year ago. So it was last December when Matthew Strange came back to
Yes.
Dice and Mind to talk about the state of business at Mongoose, and it was an even more interesting conversation than the first time. He he dropped this, and I know you remember this,
He
Brad.
dropped a
He
bomb.
he dropped a bomb that, oh yeah, they're working on something for like near future, physically realistic space exploration in the solar system. And I remember you saying, "Oh wait, Jason just had a moment. You can see it in his eyes." And
Yeah.
and I meant what I said at the time, like I'm not going to be thinking of anything else. And and so it's been nearly a year I've been following this, and man, oh man, it is almost here. I've been surfing social media for this every day. I posted a question because we're here in the Midwest in the States. Obviously, Mongoose is in Britain,
Yep.
and so I was curious because I thought, okay, I want to. This is dumb, everyone, but this is one of those rare times where I thought it would be fun to be one of the very first backers.
Yeah.
And so I posted the
You're
question
gonna
to,
ping me because I'm gonna go with you on this.
yeah.
I'll go in so that you can be ahead of me, but
Well, no,
I
no,
want
no.
to be right
I,
behind you.
I just posted the question to Matthew, on the Discord server. What time? When is this going to be like a midnight 30th GMT kind of thing? And his response later that day was, it'll be afternoon local. So
After local his time.
his time.
So
Uh,
very,
so
very
and
early our
so,
time.
uh,
No.
no, yes. So okay. So we're still
Yes.
on daylight savings time, which ironically switches this either this Sunday or the next Sunday. But either way, so right now with daylight savings time, we are like, GMT. Well, so basically, depending
We're
on,
6 hours
we're
behind. We're
6 hours
minus
behind.
six GMT.
Right. So actually, kind of first thing in the morning. Well, if who knows? Like anytime noon. So I'm assuming, like he said, afternoon. So let's say noon or later. So probably sometime in the first half of the day here, it's going to release. And I'm just going to keep, so this Thursday,
Yeah, if they're 6 hours behind, if it's what did he
we're
indicate?
6 hours. They're 6 hours ahead. So if it's afternoon, if
It'll be
it's
early or morning.
exactly,
It could be as late as 8 or 9 in the morning by
it could be
us.
later. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
so
that's fine.
so basically when I get up at 6 a.m., I'm gonna start checking.
Yeah, and then you
Um,
just call my phone. Don't text, call.
okay, I will call. I will
Okay.
call when I see it
Yes.
up. I've yeah,
And this will, by the time you're all listening to this will already have happened.
yeah, so this is stimulating radio to be sure, but still,
Yeah.
we're really excited about this. I am very excited about
No, I'm
this.
very excited because you sent a video about
Yeah, the one of the game designers with Mongoose for the game recorded a 20 plus minute video, like Q&A about
Mhm.
it, and it's like I said to you on text, Brad, like the whole thing was interesting, but it kept getting better and better right up until the end. And it's like, okay, if ever, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious. I'm starting to generate predictions. And so everyone, when this drops as an episode, you can tell me how close I was or was not, but I'm starting to generate predictions based on the very little that's out there in terms of what will be available with the Kickstarter. And I have thoughts about that. Yeah.
Now if Mongoose kind of goes, I'm thinking if it stays within the traveler type of structure,
So I think it's traveler adjacent, right?
yeah, so you'll have a core rule book.
We know there's going to be a core rule from the video, core rule book, and almost certainly the first I don't know what to call it, adventure, which
Yep,
will be for Mars.
yep. I imagine a dice set to go with it.
I'm assuming a dice set, and I'm
A
assuming
a GM screen or GM kit, I would think.
something. Yeah, I
Maybe that
think
could
so
be a
too.
stretch goal, maybe.
That, yep, and I think another stretch goal might be the lunar adventure they're already
Ah,
working on. And I
yes.
think, and then I suspect if a further stretch goals might be asteroid mining
Hmm.
and maybe something like Titan or Enceladus, based on what they said in the video.
Ah.
Who knows? Who knows? I am hopeful. I'm not optimistic, but I'm not hopeful. I am hoping that backers of the Kickstarter will be provided with something on PDF very, very early. I
Yeah, and I
hope
would
so.
think print would come out probably July, August. That's my guess.
That makes sense.
That's gonna be
That,
my
yeah,
my this episode
six
guess
to
will
eight months.
yeah.
That makes sense. But I'm hoping that backers like are given something almost immediately. I hope so because I want to play, or at least start to really design in that system.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yep. So that's
I'm
been
telling you,
on my
if it
desk.
gets you into the if it gets you into if it gets you into the traveler verse, that's good. So
What
um
else has been on your desk, Brad?
well I that has been the top of mind because
Hmm.
it's and I'll be honest with you, I have been sorting through um you know my books, both
Yeah.
RPG and other. Um and um have been, and I think we talked about this. We talked about this a little bit, and you messaged me. So this is a little bit different. And I know I'm watching the time. Um, you were at the bookstore recently and picked up a new blank notebook. You're muted. I can't hear you. You just
That's
went.
great after
There
like
we go.
almost 5 years.
Okay.
I have it right here. I actually this
Is
afternoon,
it a
I
lectern or is it a what is it?
this is a console,
Okay.
console. Um, I'd never had one before. It's really affordable, beautifully printed. I actually this
Blank
afternoon,
page or
blank page.
okay.
Right with the bookmark, which I actually trimmed a bit so that it wasn't like because it was a long one, and I don't like
Yeah.
it. Like that's fine for holding your place, but I don't like it like sticking out. It just gets in the way.
People they
Um,
make them long enough so that you can bring it to the corner of the,
Exactly, and
you
fold it
know,
over, right.
yeah.
I actually tore out the first like 10 pages this morning, or this afternoon, because I told you I experimented with haiku.
Yeah.
Those sucked. So we just
Okay.
got rid of those and recycled, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to use this for. I because I just finished another little writing project on sabbatical, and now like I just finished another paper and which we won't submit for a while. And now I'm like done. And the haiku thing, I suck at it. So
Well, that's
still can't do
subjective. You
poetry.
don't,
No,
I mean,
I think this is fairly objective. Like you
okay.
could probably pull some pretty good data. This is not my strength.
I don't know. The few that I sent you, I thought were pretty good. Granted, I
I
didn't write them, but
yeah, right.
those
I mean,
may be more limericks, maybe
thanks. Yeah, exactly. But it's no, I mean,
from a city out on the East Coast
we both,
in
yeah, indeed.
Rhode Island.
I understood.
But
Yeah.
moving on.
Yeah.
No, no. Why I bring that up is have a I have a stack because I have a couple of those blank books. But
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I prefer mine to be dot.
I couldn't find, and I like grid. but
Mhm.
I couldn't find reasonably what I wanted, and the blank called to me.
Yeah. Grid for the most part. I used to like it, but it got too busy for me. And
Yeah.
Dot allows me to work in a grid form without it overwhelming me
And for me,
from a visual
it's
perspective.
the exact opposite.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's
Yeah. It's
and
funny.
to everyone it's different.
Hmm.
And I do have a couple I do have a couple very thin. I should send them up to you because I'll never use them. A couple very thin grid ones that you might use at some point. That I
Maybe.
found. Maybe I'll send those to you. But I have one that my daughter had given to me and that I had been waiting to use because because since she had given it to me, um, I had wanted to wait to use it. It's a little thinner one. And it's a little bit bigger. It's an off size.
Yeah, I saw the. And what kind is that? Who makes that
And
one?
I'm only going to show you the blank. This is very light
Hmm.
dot.
Oh,
Um,
it doesn't even show up on Zoom. That's how light the dots are.
yeah, it's very light dot,
Hmm.
which I prefer. And um,
Who's the maker? What's the brand?
I don't know. Good
Okay.
Haven has one. She might have
Nice.
gotten this.
Yeah,
This might have been like handcrafted like on Etsy.
that's neat.
Um, because it
Hmm.
doesn't have any sort of branding or
Nice.
anything
I like that.
in it. So, but what I have done with this one is it doesn't have, oh yeah, it does have, and then it also has the ribbon to close it.
Hmm.
This is the one that I have been using and so I haven't been reading as much,
Hmm.
but I have been, you know that I traded in a bunch of Apple technology and replaced a laptop. So I've
Yep.
been setting that up as like my main machine for, you know, the stuff I have that I'm working on these days. But um, I have been working on the idea of whether or not I want to submit for the next book.
Yes. Good. Good. So,
So I haven't talked about it.
no.
I haven't talked about it with you because this has been like more of a personal project, and
Yeah.
I have been. That's why I'm not even showing you my notes
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, because I've gone through like four different ideas where I wrote the idea down. I kind of did some basic mind mapping on the computer and came to a dead end where I was like, there's just not enough.
Mm,
There was just not enough. I didn't feel like there was enough meat, and I didn't want to have to feel like
yeah.
I had to like draw
Yeah.
out.
Yep. Yep. I hear you.
So, but I have two ideas left.
Good.
Two ideas out of the six that I had written down. Two ideas that seem to have drawn enough that I think I have enough leg with that I'm going to investigate a little bit further. But that is what I've been working on. I haven't really been doing a lot of reading. I have been exercising
Good
um,
for you.
my research, I guess more research and writing chops more
Good for
than
you.
anything.
That sounds
So
fun.
it actually, to be quite honest with you, it it has been fun.
Good.
And I
As it
would
should be.
not have, you would have, if you would have told me 6 months ago, I would have said that, I would have not believed you.
No, it's like I was with my younger daughter. I was out of town at a family wedding, a cousin wedding this past weekend, and we get back to the hotel room just to kind of relax, watch a little TV before crashing for the night. And I had brought my MacBook just as really a backup for her,
Mhm.
but I mean I love the writing, and so I had just started this new little paper, really brief paper before the days before we left for the wedding. And like each of those nights, like I just worked for like half an hour or an hour, like just, not working too hard, but like did it so that like last night, like in the evenings, like, okay, first revised draft is done. Off it goes to my partner and we can call it a day.
Ooh,
Because it's
yeah.
just enjoyable.
That's the thing. And I was off at an activity with my daughter on Saturday morning.
Hmm.
And she ran in a race. And there was a time between when she left to when she would be looping back around where we'd see her.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I went back to my car to warm up because um, it was cold, really cold, and warmed the car up. And I had gotten a coffee on the way out, and I brought my little book and
Nice.
just did in effect, some writing in the car in the
Nice.
piece because
Nice.
it was
Good for you.
quiet.
Mhm.
So
And
I
it's
guess it
nice.
wasn't about what was on my desk to read. It was what's been on my desk to write. And
Even better.
literally write, but write with pencil. I write with
Oh, look
pencil
at
and
that.
not pen.
See, not a bad idea. Boy, not a bad
So I
idea.
still like my Pentel P205, my 5 millimeter drafting pencils. These are my, you know, this is what I'm most comfortable writing. And I learned to use these when I worked for what is now Chase Bank in the mid 90s. This is where I learned.
I I I think this is a Pentel. I've had it for years, my Zebra M301.5.
Yeah, that
Love
is
this
it.
one. Love this one.
Hmm.
And you get the Pentel lead because it
Hmm.
makes a difference.
Oh yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
interesting, Brad.
I
I've
gotta,
never,
before we go, I have to,
yeah,
people
I've
can't
never,
be, no, I'll show this to you afterwards. We'll do this offline.
I've, well, we'll just let all of you go before the
Yeah.
pain becomes unbearable.
Yeah, this is
Um,
probably just way beyond the norm for
mhm.
what people are interested in. But
And oh no,
I'll
we go
tease you
to
with
be teased.
this. With this. It's a visual
Yeah,
of a limited edition pencil set.
nice.
And it came with, I just will show it anyway. They're all they're all the P series in different colors, but they have different levels of
Those
lead.
are beautiful pencils, mechanical pencils.
So I'm a mechanical pen. You love pens. I love mechanical pens.
Thank you,
That's just my
everybody,
thing.
for joining us for Geeks with Mechanical Pencils. Next
Wow.
week,
We have
okay,
that is I don't know if that's sunk to a new low or we've done a real curveball, but um we
I'm
better wrap
pretty
this up
sure
before
it's
we really go
I
really off the.
I have to say I'm pretty sure it's a new low.
Well, I don't know, but we're gonna have to, for those that have, for the few of you who are listening, and most of you have more than likely been guests, um, and our writers, I'll be curious when you do write, what you write with. Well, I don't think we've really ever asked that, if anyone ever has any preference in terms of paper, when they write with paper and pencil or pen,
Well,
what they prefer.
and I have to so that we don't embarrass so I don't embarrass myself any further for those of you who are in the know, I just looked up my mechanical pencil, which I've had at least since early grad school. A Zebra is the company, Zebra Pen. I always thought I had a Pentel. It's a Zebra. That's the actual company.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, isn't that cool? Because it looks just like one of the. Yeah.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right. Well,
Sharp is the company that makes. It's
nice.
interesting. Yeah, because it has Sharp on the back and then it has Pentel on
Pentel.
the back.
Okay. Good times, people. Good times. All right. As always, thanks for joining us for our pencil and pen peregrinations. I know I say this all the time, but because it's well into fall here in the Northern Hemisphere, um, we and I mean Brad will agree with this undoubtedly. We are scheduled into the new year in
Yes.
terms of interviews and discussions, and it's a really diverse group of
Hmm.
individuals. And you know how sometimes we might spend some time, multiple episodes really getting to like the mechanics of a number of games with some creators. Sometimes we kind of get on a writing kick. It's just kind of the luck of the scheduling draw. Um, man, oh man,
We are all over the place.
this time around, between now and February of 2026, we have game designers, creators, writers, scientists of various shade.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it's buckle up. Like you said, we're all over the place in
And
the
I
best
meant
way.
that in a positive way. I
Yes.
just mean that this is probably going to be one of the more diverse in
Hmm.
terms of the skill sets of our guests this next period of time that we have. Um,
Agreed.
one of our more diverse groups of guests, and we're very excited about it.
We are. So with that, dear listeners, you know the deal. Be well, stay well. We will see you in a couple weeks.